All right. Good morning. Hi, Raj and Tyler. Let's see who haven't I said good morning to. I think hi, Faith. Hi, Maggie. Hi, Jack. How's it going? And Phoebe. Hello. All right. Okay. Since you guys are here on time, just a couple reminders about just things that we're working on. You should have received an email or you sent your email to a community partner, somebody you guys are trying to get information for us. It's not going to, if they don't, they may respond, they may not respond, or they may respond in a different way than what you thought. So we can talk about that, but that's what you're going to turn in kind of next week, kind of a response, what you've heard, if you've heard anything, maybe some ideas maybe that came from that organization. I think one of the things we're trying to do is find out if some of these organizations are doing virtual projects, have virtual opportunities, and I think a lot of them do. But what we're going to do in the next few weeks is kind of experiment with stuff that we could do for community service that happens just right in our classroom. So we're going to do that a little bit later today and this week, and I'm going to break into teams. But so we have that. We have just a reminder that your camera should be on unless you've talked to me or your parents have told me that there's a reason why you can't have your camera on. So I want to encourage you to do that so you can, make sure you get all the points that you want and need. And then just a reminder on the classwork, we do classwork to do on that day. So I think that's the last time I'll remind you of any of those announcements. That's what I started last week. So there we go. Okay, I have a question for you. Let me see. Has anybody seen a stick like this? Anybody seen this before? Do you know what it does? Okay, well, here you go. You ready? Can you hear that? Everybody hear that? Okay, this is actually a piece of wood. And do you know what it's called? Anybody? You can put it in chat if you don't want to speak. Anybody know? All right. Well, this is called, are you ready? Are you ready? I know you're excited. A rain stick, because it does this. All right. So this is kind of our theme for this week, but it's actually not the rain stick. It's more something called a talking stick. And I don't know if any of you, when you were younger, and this would probably be most the guys, because I don't think, well, actually they did have girls in Boy Scouts. They had like Venture Scouts, but in scouting, they had something where you would take a bunch of little Cub Scouts, these little boys, and they would be talking over each other. And so you had something called a talking stick. And so this is kind of what we used in our Boy Scout troop, because it was really large and it was really annoying. And so the kids had to really get it and be intentional about getting it. And have you guys ever heard of something called a talking stick before? Does that sound familiar at all to anyone? No? Let me see. Somebody chatted, but I don't know if it was about that. Nope. Well, that was about if Valley got back to us or not. Okay, nobody's heard of a talking stick before. And if you have, you just don't want to share with me. So that's okay. Let me talk to you about this a little bit, and then we're gonna do kind of an exercise together. But the talking stick is the idea, really in different cultures, like in America, Native American cultures, where they had a talking stick that looks something like this. But if you go on the internet and you look what a talking stick is, they all look differently. And so let me tell you a little bit about in the culture about a talking stick, and then what it has to do with leadership lesson for this week. So the talking stick reminds us that before we lead, we must listen. Leaders seek to understand the perspective of others before they communicate their own point. They show empathy and they ask good questions. As a result, they earn the right to be heard. I have a friend who teaches all over the United States, and talks to leaders, corporate leaders, church leaders, all types of leaders. And one of the things he says, the very first lesson he gives, and I've heard him speak numerous times, and he says the same thing every time: leadership begins with listening. Leadership begins with listening. And so, what I want you to think about this is what kind of listener are you? What kind of listener are you in your relationships, in school? How do you listen well? In the Bible, in James, it says, "My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry." I like that. Quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. You saw Jesus do that quite often when he was confronting, especially religious leaders. He didn't talk right away. He just waited. So I think the thing that I want you to think about is what kind of listener are you? Are you quick to listen? Are you quick to judge, evaluate without thinking? What kind of listener are you in your relationships, in your friendships, in your school, and in your leadership? So the talking stick, here's how it worked. So if you had the talking stick, you would take it. And often what happened times is it was like they would have the big war council, and they had to make a big decision, and there was a lot of conflict. And I would guess most of you hate conflict, I would guess. Like if I said, "Oh, would you like to have some conflict today?" I think most people would go like, "No, I do not want to have conflict. I do not want to be challenged. I don't want to challenge anybody else. I want to go about my day." And my experience in life is, if you think you won't have conflict, you probably will end up having conflict, and you have to realize how to deal with conflict. And so, which I'm going to talk more about on Thursday, but conflict begins with trying to resolve that begins with listening. So in that culture, the speaker would have the talking stick, and they would not give it to somebody else until they felt like everybody in the room understood their point of view. Didn't mean that they had to agree with them. It just meant that I want everyone to understand my point of view. And then as they did that, usually what would happen is people would become less defensive. They would listen more, and they would listen to what the speaker had to say. So that's one thing I want you to think about is, how well do you listen to other people? And what they talk about in this article I was reading, they said one of the greatest emotional needs of people today is to be understood, for people to really understand. And I don't know how you are, but I would like people to understand me. And I get frustrated if I'm trying to talk and I feel like I'm getting nowhere. Usually that's with people who are closest to me, but often can happen with conflict in different relationships and friendships that I have. They talk about leadership is about listening, observing, and interpreting what we see and hear. And so I want you to think about listening today. And the first thing I want to brainstorm with you a little bit is, when you think about listening, and especially people who are trying to listen to you, what really bothers you about people when they don't listen to you? What's your like pet peeve if you're trying to communicate to somebody and they are not really listening? What is your, like, what really frustrates you about that? Let me ask a few of you. Winston, let me ask you, what really bothers you about people in your own life when it comes to listening?
I mean, it's mostly just if they're like not listening, and like if I'm trying to tell them something and they're like focused on something else, and that can get pretty annoying.
Yeah, is that physically not listening to you, or could that just be you feel like they're not there? Or
Yeah, I just like, I mean, it feels like they don't care, or like they don't. I mean, I can understand why they might have like something else going on, but it can just be like a little bit annoying to have to repeat yourself and try to like, you know, clarify again.
yeah, absolutely, that annoys me too. Let me ask some other people. Let me ask Tyler. What about you? What really irritates you about others when it comes to listening?
I would say like when people are kind of like ignoring you, or they're stubborn in like what you're saying, they're just like not listening to you. or like they don't want to listen to what you have to say, which is like a little bit annoying sometimes, or could like make me a little bit irritated.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. How about Amanda and then Amber and then Faith?
I think something that's probably annoying would be like if someone asks for like advice and like I give them like all these like great tips and like advice and they don't like do anything with it. Like, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that was like I think I had one student in my class yesterday. He that was really his pet peeve. I mean, he talked for a few minutes about how, you know, I'm trying to give everything I have and they don't listen to me or don't take my advice. So yeah, I understand that. How about Amber and then Faith?
It just makes me feel like not appreciated, I guess. Or like, yeah, because like, and kind of like rude a little bit because I feel like no one's like taking into account like your feelings or whatever you're saying. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Very true. All right, Faith, what about you?
I feel like I like wasted my time if I spent like a lot of time like talking to someone and giving them my advice and then they go in like a really different direction. Like it's
Yeah.
fine, but I feel kind of like I wasted my time or like you shouldn't not have asked me if you're not gonna listen.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true. Do you have friends? I don't know how you guys are, but do you need to, let me ask Brooke, do you need to, when you talk to people and you want them to listen to you, do you just need people to listen to you so you can vent and just, or what bothers you? What's your pet peeve about listening?
I think I just need people like to vent to, but to answer your question, I feel like a big thing for me is if I'm trying to talk to you and you're trying to talk to me about something else and say mine's super important to me and it's like, oh, I need to get this off my chest, and then they're like, oh, do you want to go get food? And you're like, this is just not the time. Or like when I'm talking to them and they start like you start having a conversation and then they look down at their phone and then like the conversation's completely gone. I feel like those are my like top pet peeves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we all have like a lot of similar ones because if it goes back to it, that we want people to understand us and listen to us. And when they don't, or they appear to be like they're not paying attention, then it can be so frustrating. Here's a couple things to think about, and then we'll talk about maybe some good practices. Number one, judgmental listening, jumping to conclusions. Like if I want somebody to listen to me, I want somebody who's just really gonna listen to what I say and kind of take it in and not actually judge me, or jump to conclusions like it says. Selective listening, like people who only listen to some things that you say. I like what Brooke said. You know, you share something really passionate about you, and then they go, "Well, can we go get some food?" You're like, "Wait, what? Were you listening to me?" Impatient listening, interrupting, egocentric listening, just paying attention so you can say things to me that I'm supposed to like, and I may not. Patronizing listening, not really paying attention, or stubborn listening, already making up your mind. I don't know, especially when you're trying to talk to somebody in a relationship, you're in a friendship, and you don't want them to make up your mind. You want to get a fair hearing. And I hope you can see how all these are really important too, and how you listen to other people. So let's turn the corner for a moment and talk about good listening. Like what do you think makes a good listener? Let me ask Jack and Kyle and Sally.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, Jack, will you go first? So like what's a good attribute of listening for you?
I mean, somebody who actually like takes in what you listen.
Okay. Yeah.
Some people, they'll like just listen to you and then it just goes out one ear. But yeah, so someone who can actually listen and then process what they heard. I think that's a good attribute.
Yeah. How for you, like what does that look like? Like how do you know that it didn't go out the other ear?
I mean, a lot of the time, like you say something, they're like, "Oh yeah, for sure," something like that. They don't actually understand it. They have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's good. A good example. Okay, I forgot who's the other person. I still said Sally, and then there was one other person. Sally, why don't you go next?
I like try to listen from other points of view too. So I would listen to my friend and I would listen to the other person that's like involved. So like I know like the whole story instead of like just one point of view.
Nice, great. Yeah, absolutely. Just for being open. How about Grant? What do you think? What's a good attribute of a listener?
Um, a good listener is someone who, even if they don't want to listen, will listen regardless and will respect you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because and you have to be. I think listening, like to your point, you have to be intentional. You have to really decide you're going to listen. Even if you don't want to, you have to decide because you're going to be in a friendship. Let me ask. Let's see. How about Tevin and then Phoebe? You guys have any other things that you look forward to in somebody, in a listener?
I just want the listeners to be like I feel like that they should be like very attentive and make sure that like they're not like doing other things while they're listening, because sometimes that could be distracting for the speaker.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's good. And Phoebe, what about you?
I feel like they shouldn't just be listening. They should also be like trying to interpret what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Those are all really important. They talk about some good practices that you can think about. Number one, and this, you guys said all these, I think being present, paying attention, like really actually believing that the person's listening to you and they're providing feedback, like maybe even asking talks down there about asking questions, but also giving feedback. Like one of the things you said is, you want that person to kind of give you some feedback on what you're saying, like to know, gosh, am I crazy? So you want some feedback to know also that um, uh, you're understanding what they're saying. One of the things when I was younger, people talked a lot about is like if Grant would say something to me, I would say, well, what I hear you saying is this. And that's a good tool, but it also can be super annoying because then the person can go, what I hear you saying is this, and that's not at all what you said. I don't know if you've ever had that experience, but that's totally frustrating too. But just some kind of like nodding your head, some kind of feedback, showing empathy, like showing that you care, even if you like don't agree with somebody. There's this idea of like, man, I'm really sorry you're going through that. I'm sorry that's a challenge for you. That must be difficult. Showing that you care, asking good questions. I think that's the best thing you could do as a listener. You listen, and then you're slow to speak, and you throw out a question, and then you respond appropriately to the person, giving your advice, giving your opinion. And I think all those things make a good listener. All right, so what I want you to do is, in light of just this idea of thinking about listening and being a leader, is go to the Moodle page, and I want you to take about 8 minutes or so to just do a little reflection on what kind of listener are you personally. And so that's what the questions ask. There's 3 questions, and then there's true and false statements, and I want you to put true or false for each statement. And then I'll kind of look at all this and I'll use that for our kind of a lesson tomorrow. But so go ahead and take some time to do that, and then we'll come back and do a project together. All right? Okay, go ahead. All right, take a minute more to just do your reflection, then we'll come back and I'll tell you our next project. I don't know if you've ever listened to Dr. Seuss, but and seen the Lorax, but the Lorax is about the trees, and it's really kind of a tale about the environment. Dr. Seuss says, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. So you have to make up a story that rhymes. No, you don't have to do that, but you do have to do a project. And this is going to be a project that you're going to do in class. All right. So we are going to brainstorm today for 10 minutes a service project that we could do as a class, and in more particular, what you could do in your small group. So think back to when we did like the Hope Project, where we all try to find ways where we could serve people that we knew, our family members, being kind to friends. We've been emailing and asking people about virtual service projects. So what you're going to do is I'm going to give you 10 minutes as a group, and you are going to brainstorm a virtual service project that you can do in class. So break into groups, you brainstorm some ideas. In 10 minutes, I want you to come back and give some ideas. Make sure it's an idea where everybody can participate. And I also want you to say is when you brainstorm for today, come up with any idea you want to. There's no bad idea. Let's say your group decides to raise $1 million for the American Cancer Society. Okay, that probably won't happen, but think of some crazy ideas that you could do. So I'm going to encourage you to turn your cameras back on now for this activity. And I have you in groups. And when you come back, pick somebody in your group to just share your 2 or 3 ideas. Today is just brainstorming, coming up with some ideas. This is not what you necessarily have to do, but I want to tell you that my other 2 classes yesterday, they all came up with ideas. I have some ideas, but I don't want to tell you until you guys have had a time to brainstorm. All right. So I'm going to give you 8 minutes to come up with some ideas that your group could actually do during class time to serve this world around you. All right. Okay. Anybody have any questions? Okay, here we go. All right, Henry, if you are looking at this, I want you to email me and tell me what you want me to do. If you want me to put you in a group, if you want to do your own service idea, can you email me? I will also email you. I'll try to do these recordings so you can hear the what's going on, but I'll probably try to pause during these times so you don't have to listen to it. Wait a couple more seconds. We'll start with group 1. And so wait 20 more seconds. So get ready. We'll go quickly before class is over. Just tell me your top 2 ideas. If you only have one, that's fine, that you feel really good about. But we'll again talk about this tomorrow and the next day and kind of finalize everything on Thursday that you're going to do next week. All right, here we go. So group number 1, who's got that? Wants to share with us? Phoebe, Joshua, Raj, Amanda, Tevin, go. Somebody quickly. And group 2, get ready.
Our idea was to do like something like social media related to inspire other people and bring awareness to a topic so that like we could get others to do more. And instead of like just doing one project, we would spread out our effect.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. Social media project. Absolutely. Do some research yourself and make something happen. You could absolutely do that in class. That could actually serve other people. Okay. Group number 2.
Yeah, so we thought of either raising money for an organization. There's one called Active Minds, that's student-led organization for mental health. And then another one was writing cards for Mental Health Association San Francisco, and they send their cards to different hospitals.
Nice. Good job. Those are good. I hadn't heard of either of those. Those are great options. All right. Group number 3. Frank, Owen, Grant, Atarva, Easton, Tyler, go.
I think we were thinking of kind of doing a similar idea where we maybe like do a fundraiser, like a GoFundMe or something for like maybe like families who need it or like going or need help with like paying for COVID treatment or something. Or our second option was like writing letters to like people in retirement homes because they're probably like isolated and super lonely. So just to like give them like kind of like someone to talk to and stuff like that.
Love it. Great idea. Great idea. I think, we'll figure out how that maybe could happen. So good. Group number 4.
Is that my group?
That is, who said that, Brooke? Yeah, your group.
Yeah. Okay, so one of our ideas was that, like, especially to have it in class, we could do like a Zoom where we connect with a organization and be like, hey, do you have a PowerPoint we could talk about and present to our family and friends, or can we make one? And then kind of make that as like a fundraiser where we ask like maybe our family and friends, okay, maybe put this as your meeting, and then you just come and like you could not donate, but like just to spread the word. And we also thought about just kind of doing like, okay, we plan like maybe each of us does our own organization and we like fundraise for the outside of class, and then we come together and then put all the money to, or like we could do either separate organizations or we could do it for one. So that's kind of our thoughts.
Good. All right. These are great ideas. Okay, last group. You have 45 seconds. Tell us.
Ours was kind of the same thing. It was like about social media posts to raise awareness and like talk about fundraisers or organizational events.
Love it. Good ideas. And there probably are more that you have in your brain. So think about that. I'll have you meet in groups tomorrow, and we'll kind of try to come up with a plan that we can start and do next week. So this is a service class. It's driving me crazy. Normally we'd be going out and doing things like field trips and service projects, which we can't. So we're going to do a couple of these ideas over this semester, and maybe that will inspire you to make this your big project. All right, you guys have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Thanks for listening. All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. See you later.
Thank you, Mr. Yaller.
Thanks, Tevin. Yeah. All right, Henry, see you later.